Got it. All right, we are going to get started. Welcome to the Certification Advisory Council meeting. This meeting is being webcast today. We are meeting virtually via the Zoom platform. I would like to remind participants to mute yourself when you are not speaking, and then of course, unmute when you are speaking. Please ensure your video is on so others can see when you talk. And we have a small group here, so you can indicate you have a comment or question by either using the hand icon, or it also works just to wave. We have one application under reconsideration today. The coordinating board staff present today, Dr. Tina Jackson will be with us in a little bit. She has a conflicting meeting right now. She is our Assistant Commissioner of Workforce Education. Paul Schuler, if you want to give us a wave, is our manager and the staff liaison who coordinated the virtual site team visit. And I'm Kathy Mayert, the Director of Private Post-Secondary Institutions. I want to welcome our Certification Advisory Council members. This is always an exciting meeting because we have 3 new members today. A special welcome to you, CAC members. After I state your name, if you could please identify yourself and give your institution and your title. Dr. Dorothy Langley.
Hi. Good morning, everyone. Dorothy Langley, Jarvis Christian University in Hawkins, Texas. Glad to be here.
Thank you. Dr. Gina Anderson.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Gina Anderson. I'm at Texas Women's University, Associate Dean for Educator Preparation.
And I mentioned Dr. Cheryl Sneed-Green was unable to join us today. Mr. Tom Ronk.
Good morning. I'm Tom Ronk. I'm with Houston Community College, and I'm the Associate Vice Chancellor of Workforce Program Research and Development. It's a mouthful.
And Dr. Jane, is it Moschella?
Moschella, yeah.
Moschella.
Yeah, Jane Moschella. I'm the Executive Vice President and Provost at Parker University in Dallas.
Great. And then we have Dr. John Vassar.
Good morning. I serve as Provost at the University of Mary Hardin Baylor in Belton, Texas.
Great. Well, welcome to our 3 new members. We are happy to have you. This is a great group. We will have the institution representatives introduce yourselves at the point where we get to the reconsideration of your certificate of authority application. The first order of business is nomination and approval of the CAC chair. Our previous chair, who some of you know, Dr. Jacob Tingle, his term ended this past August. And during the last CAC meeting, I asked for volunteers, always love volunteers, for continuing CSC members to take over as chair of the advisory council. I am very pleased that Dr. Dorothy Langley has graciously volunteered to be the chair. Therefore, I would like to ask for a motion to officially nominate Dr. Langley as the CAC chair.
So moved.
And who was that? I'm sorry, I was looking away.
Jane Moschella.
Jane Moschella. Thank you. And is there a second?
Tina Anderson, second.
Thank you. It's very helpful when you say your name because sometimes I don't recognize who it is. Is there any discussion? Okay, if not, then I will just ask you to quickly vote individually, yes or no. Mr. Ronk.
Yes.
Dr. Vassar.
Yes.
Dr. Moschella.
Yes.
Dr. Anderson.
Yes.
And Dr. Langley.
Oh, yes.
Thank you.
No challenge on this phone today.
That's okay. That's okay. Thank you. At this time, I am going to turn over the meeting to our new CAC chair, Dr. Dorothy Langley.
Good morning, everyone. Again, I'm Glad to be here. And we'll go ahead. Um,
I think you
I will
froze.
Want to hear me okay?
I think you're breaking up, Dr. Langley.
Am I? Sorry. Can y'all hear me now?
Yes,
Am I still breaking up?
you're good.
We're good? Okay, all right. So we're gonna get started. Have the special welcome to our new members. Have the CIC members received the meeting notes from August the 4th that was emailed prior to the meeting?
Yes,
Thank you for responding. I can't see anything on this phone.
That's okay. They're all shaking their heads yes.
You'd help me with that. I appreciate it.
I
Kathy.
will.
So let me ask now, are there any revisions to the document?
I don't see any.
Okay, thank you. Let me ask now for a motion and a second to approve the meeting notes from August the 4th at this time.
Motion to approve, John Vassar.
Thank you.
And I'll second the motion to approve. Tom Ronk.
Thank you. Any discussion? If no discussion, we're going to now vote. So I'd like to ask you individually to vote, and Kathy will assist me with this. I will let someone go first to vote yes or no. Everyone needs to vote, please.
Tom Ronk,
Yes.
John Vassar,
Yes.
Jane Michella,
yes,
Gina Anderson, and Dorothy Langley.
Yes. Thank you so much. The meeting summary notes from August the 4th have been approved at this. Now we're going to move to reconsideration of the application for the initial certification of authority for Nettleman Institute. Or was that supposed to be me?
That is you.
Okay, thanks. So today we are reconsidering the application for the Nettleman Institute of Surveying Engineering Technology, Nettleman Institute or NISET, for its first certification of authority. They have operated in Curryville, Texas under a license from the Texas Workforce Commission since October 2018, offering a non-degree program. They propose to offer an Associate of Applied Science in Surveying Engineering Technology. Nettleman Institute intends to seek institutional accreditation from SAC COC once it has received the certification authority from the coordinating board. Nettleman's institution application came before the CAC members in August 2022. At that time, the CAC members voted to defer a recommendation until additional information was received from Nettleman's. Remind you that the CAC members that they received the site evaluation report in our prior meeting. Did everyone remember that you received that?
yes,
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. You also received, should have received additional information provided subsequently to the August 2022 CAC meeting, with your knowledge that that was received.
yes,
Yes.
All right, thank you so much. At this time, we're going to ask the Nettleman Institute representative to introduce themselves, name and title at this time.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Dr. Tony Nettleman. I'm the director of NISET.
My name is Stephanie Nettleman, and I am the financial controller for NISET.
Good morning, and welcome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Got a little delay there. I want to ask Kathy if she remind the CAC members of the certificate of authority process and the validity of the timeline.
Right. Sure. This is especially for our new members so that we can familiarize you with the process. Each certificate of authority is valid for 2 years. And this would be Nettleman Institute's first certificate of authority. I'm just going to give you a little background. A certificate of authority is issued to institutions who are seeking recognized accreditation but do not have it yet. So they could have started as Nettleman did with a non-degree program and now are wanting to expand to a degree program, or they could be brand new. And so they are working on their way toward that recognized accreditation. If recommendation for approval, staff anticipates that the CAC and commissioners' recommendations will be brought to the January 2023 cause committee and full quarterly board meeting to consider the institution's application. As a reminder, the CAC, you the members, make a recommendation to the commissioner and to the coordinating board members. And then the commissioner can make his own recommendation. The recommendations go to the coordinating board at a committee meeting and then to the full board meeting at a quarterly meeting. This certificate of authority, if approved, would then be valid from January 2023 to January 2025. Institutions can apply for and receive certificates of authority for a total of 8 years. At the end of 8 years, the institution must have received coordinating board recognized accreditation. And just as a reminder, certification by the state of Texas is not accreditation, but it is merely a protection of the public's interest while that institution pursues accreditation from a recognized agency. Dr. Langley, I'm going to turn it back to you.
All right, thank you so much. I do appreciate that. Excuse me. At this time, I would like to ask which Nettleman Institute representative will be presenting at this time.
Yes, ma'am. I can present primarily, and then Stephanie can answer any financial questions if you have as a follow-up.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm going to ask you to provide a 5 to 10 minute overview of the institution's degree program and accreditation plans, especially for our new members. And then we'll go into the additional information that was requested. It's all in your hands. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, welcome everybody, new members, old members. My name is Tony Nettleman. I'm the director of NYSET. I've been a practicing surveyor for over 20 years. And NYSET was created because I've been through several higher education institutions, you know, just like you all have bachelor's, master's, PhD. And I noticed that these institutions were fantastic at teaching the principles of surveying. I learned a tremendous amount, but I also learned a lot in the practice of surveying. And I felt like that some of the degree granting programs, there's only less than a dozen in this entire country, really did not provide the context of practical surveying that I needed to succeed when I graduated from each of these programs. I've met several, I don't know, dozen, maybe over 100 students that come to me and say, I'm a technician and I want to be something different. I want to move up. I want to get licensed in my home state. I want to make more money. I want to have a better life for my family. I want to have more control over my career. But the problem is that I simply, can't quit my job, move 500 miles to the nearest surveying institution and get my degree. So NYSET was created to allow these working students, whether they're young or old, whether they're just beginning their careers or have practiced for 30 years, to come in and get the necessary education to become a professional land surveyor in their home state, especially Texas. The exciting thing is that the Texas Board of Surveying used to have a 4-year degree requirement to become a professional surveyor, but that just got changed last year to require only a 2-year degree. So now Anyone wanting to become a Texas surveyor needs to get a 2-year degree, then go work for a professional surveyor for 2 additional years, and they'll be able to take the exams and get licensed. So our program is really, dovetailed in with this new Texas legislation to allow 2-year associate's degrees. We've had quite a few successful students in the certificate program, and we're really looking forward to providing the principles and practice of surveying to a lot more Texas surveyors when we get our associate's degree approved. So we're excited, and we look forward to working with the THCEB to make that happen.
Thank you so much for that overview. We appreciate that. Moving forward, during the August 22 meeting, the CAC members requested additional information before making a recommendation to approve or deny the application. Specifically, Nettleman Institute was requested to provide the following: how Nettleman was going to handle general education credits in light of the fact that their current provider, Straight-Align, does not have THECB recognized accreditation or does not hold a certificate of authority. Also, a multi-year budget, which was transparent with finances, including if the funds were coming from other Nettleman related businesses or being generated through the current certificate program offered by the Nettleman Institute. And my question is, has Nettleman provided the additional information? And if so, if you could give us an update on the 2 requested items.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. In the first item, since we began seeking THECB approval, there have been a lot of questions about, can we outsource the general ed? Is Straight-Align going to be a good institution to work with? And after, discussions with Paul and with the CAC committee in August, we decided to offer the general ed courses in-house. So we'll be hiring 2 to 3 general ed adjunct instructors. We have the list of courses that require the instructors. We have the position statements with the, job description, salary, what class they would teach, everything prepared. And at this point, we are ready to hire those general ed instructors as soon as our associate's degree approval is approved, and we're ready to hire them. So everything's set up. Any questions about the first, issue from August?
No, I don't have any.
I do. I have one. I
Okay.
thought I would just jump in. Tony, do you know, are they qualified under our standards to teach general education? Have you checked the standards to make sure that everyone you're going to hire meets the education requirements?
Yes, ma'am. And we have a requirement, for that 1 degree higher than what we're offering here. So of course, all the general ed instructors would be required to have a bachelor's degree. And not only, just the basic education, but we plan on hiring 2 or 3 general ed instructors because we'd like them to be, specialists in that area. So there'll be 1 English and writing, there'd be our math general ed, and then the science general ed. That's kind of our plan right now, soft skills in English, things like that, mathematics, and then the physics science requirement. And we have specific job descriptions written for each of those, and we have checked to make sure they do meet the THECB requirements. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
And so, Tony, do you have evidence of the, hiring of these general ed instructors yet? Do you have their credentials or anything that we can review?
We haven't begun the job search yet because we're waiting to get our approval to hire these people. But we do have the position statements we can share with you. I think Steph shared with you our plan, and we can also share those position statements with you.
Do we have any other questions on this report?
Yeah, this is Tom Ronk. Dr. Nettleman, have you reviewed the SAC COC requirements for general ed as well? So I know you're looking now here, but you're looking to go to be accredited by SACS as well. And they have very, very specific requirements for the general ed.
That's a great question. Please call me Tony.
Okay.
We're actually have requirements in mind, not only for SACS, but as soon as we have SACS accreditation, we're also going to be seeking ABET accreditation, because that's, it's frustrating because some states in the country, all of the land surveying boards are completely separate from the higher education approval institutions. So some land surveying boards require a DOE, Department of Education, approved program, which is SACS, obviously. But other states, they just say ABET requirements. They don't care about whether, and ABET is not a DOE, accredited, system. So we've written the general ed requirements in terms of the number of general ed courses, the instructors, all that stuff, to make sure that we meet THECB, make sure we meet SACS, and also meet ABET, because we don't want to be changing requirements and courses and instructors as we progress through this, multi-step process.
Any additional questions or comments for this particular part? I do have one question from what I read. So the persons that you're hiring will have at least 18. I know there's someone I would ask about the SAC COC requirement, but you have checked to make sure, or will make sure, that the person that you're hiring has at least the 18 graduate hours to teach in that particular field?
Yes, ma'am, absolutely. And we plan on hiring, 2 or 3 instructors, and that's why the position statements are so important, because it makes sure we don't miss any of the, requirements for these people. Yes, we do make sure that meets 18 hours.
Okay. Because I know sometimes a person can have the degree, but then they don't have the hours in that particular subject. So that's something that those who deal with SACS, we deal with that quite often. Okay. Any other questions from my CAC members or colleagues on this particular one?
Yes, Tony, do you have those position announcements you can share with us?
I have them at my office. I'm not in there today, but I'll be glad to share them with you within, 24 hours, and everybody can review them.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yes.
We're not the accrediting commission like SACS is, but that happens to be my area that I do a lot of work with. And you're saying 2 or 3 general education faculty, but you have to have the faculty that are credentialed to teach in each of the areas that encompass the breadth and scope of general education courses. So you may have to rethink how many faculty you need at certain times throughout the program to get through the requirements for all the general education classes. It's prescriptive.
I appreciate that, and I'll make sure, I do agree with you. It's kind of fluid because, the number of students varies, the courses you're teaching each semester varies. So that's great feedback. And, we appreciate that the THECB, the CAC committee is not just an approver, but can provide a lot of good advice and feedback. So if any of you have advice, we'll take it.
All right, thank you so much. If no other comments or questions on that particular response, we're going to move to our second response, and it deals with a multi-year budget. So would someone like to speak to that first, Tony?
Sure. do you want to talk about the budget?
Sure. So an updated 5-year budget was provided. I'm not sure if everyone had received that.
Yeah.
And I know specifically in the last meeting, we were asked about insurance, and that's been included. And also I know it was discussed about, right now the institution's not operating at a profit. We are running the institute off of our other businesses. And we will continue to do so until the institute becomes profitable on its own. We also have a security bond in place so that if, there were something to happen, that the tuition and fees to students would be taken care of.
Okay. Thank you. Open up for questions to the CAC colleagues.
Hi there. I wanted to ask about the payroll expenses for, it looks like there's one employee salary that's been included in this budget. Is this for one general ed instructor, or where is the evidence of, I guess, the general education instructor investment in your budget?
Sure. Yes, that is for the general ed. At this time, Tony and I, neither of us are taking a salary. Tony's teaching the classes at this time, and will continue to do so until the institute becomes profitable and we're able to hire more people for the back end.
Okay, and then as a follow-up to something that Dr. Moschella mentioned earlier, there's the likelihood that you're going to need multiple instructors rather than just one. So how do you plan on budgeting for that?
Sure. Because of our low number of students, we're not planning on having 100 students in the next year or two. So, we'll probably only have one general ed class going at a time. And so then the professors will be teaching for that semester, but they may not be teaching the next semester.
And it's important to remember that, we pay the instructors based on the classes they teach and the number of students, not like a full-time, salary. So we could have 2 or 3 general ed instructors all being paid part-time for the same, price as a full-time general ed instructor. And we have this equation where it's, how many classes are you teaching and how many students are enrolled. And basically the instructors get paid 1/3 of the tuition from the students. So, the number of instructors isn't really in the budget, but the number of classes they're required to run to meet that need is in there.
Okay, and then how many classes will run per semester?
So the plan is, currently we run, 2 to 4 classes of surveying per semester. And I'd like to get it as soon as we're approved for the associates. The plan is to offer a full-time 18 credit hours per semester or 15 hours per semester. And there may be, 2 or 3 surveying courses with 2 or 3 general ed, but it's going to be sequenced in a way where we can get our students graduated on time, so they're not like waiting a year or 2 years for a course.
Okay, and how many courses do your students typically, do you plan on, what's a typical course load for a student?
Sure. So unlike your traditional university, the students are working, 40 hours a week plus. So we typically see, 2 to 3 courses. So maybe like 10 hours, 11 hours per semester. And we advise the students to take, either 2 or 3 courses their first semester and just see how they can manage it. Some of the students, they're single, they're young, they can do, pretty decent course load with working. Other ones have family, older, parents take care of other things, and they may only take 2 classes a semester.
Is there a chance that the 2 to 3 classes a semester would be taught by one single instructor, and that a student hypothetically could have only one instructor teaching multiple classes?
Probably not, because, you know, the idea from hiring our instructors at NICET is to hire practicing land surveyors that each teach maybe 1 or 2 courses at the most. So typically I'll teach 1 course. Jerry Mahan, he met with us in August. He teaches 1 or 2 courses. And then a 3rd surveyor comes in, our AutoCAD digital drafting guy. So we try to pick the courses in their own specialty. You don't want me teaching AutoCAD. I don't like it. But typically that's not going to happen, because the whole purpose of using our instructors is so that they have the contemporary knowledge of principles and practice in their specialty. So I don't like it when you have 3 courses taught by the same person, and there may be one who's a specialist in introduction to surveying or legal aspects, but they don't know anything about AutoCAD. And that's why we're keeping the idea of a more specialized general ed instructor too, because we'd like them not to be just qualified in the subject, but they enjoy it and that's their specialty. So to answer your question, probably not. You're not going to have 1 instructor with 3 courses in a semester.
Okay, I wanted to make sure that your rationale for selecting high quality instructors for the general ed courses is the same as for your specialized courses.
Yes, it is.
I'd like to add to that as well, just to question or ask you if you're prepared to meet the requirements. It's really hard when you have a small number of enrolled students in a program and you have courses to teach. You also have a requirement to meet adequate full-time faculty standards for SACS. And so if they're not teaching multiple courses, then you'll have multiple faculty, and then you have to prove adequate full-time faculty. There's a lot of standards for SACS, and it's not so prescriptive that you have to do X, Y, and Z, but you have to support and document how you plan to meet the standard. So have you been able to look through those? Because it's kind of in opposition to kind of what you're saying and what they're going to be looking for.
Sure, that's a great question. First of all, we expect, not to break even or make money for quite a number of years, which is fine because, we make, I think it was like my accountant told me we make 92% profit margins in the consulting practice. And the idea here is, yes, I do understand we need adequate full-time faculty. And I would like those full-time faculty not only to be teaching courses, but also to be kind of not the visionaries, but more like and I hate to say administration, because administration makes me think of like sorting papers or something. But, to be the visionaries for NICET, making sure we're meeting the bigger goals of the faculty, program outcomes, student learning objectives, all those things. So I imagine that, we could hire, some full-time faculty members that will teach courses and deal with the vision of NICET, making sure it's running properly. But at the same time, use those part-time specialist instructors to give better quality instruction than you would get if you just hired 1 or 2 faculty. And, if you look at the surveying programs around the country, even the biggest ones, New Mexico State was running with 1 instructor for the entire program for like 2 or 3 years, which is crazy. And, I taught at an institution years ago, and we had to hire somebody no matter what, because we're going to lose the money for the year. So we hired an expert in temperature measurement for the land surveying program. And he was trying to teach, satellite surveying and all kinds of stuff. So I guess I'm trying to balance the requirements of SACS and ABET, which I think are good, requirements, with the practical need for specialists in these different programs, because we're not interested in offering a course just to offer a course. Now, the other thing, interesting thing you said, well, what about, meeting enrollment requirements for the students? Like, can you run a course with 4 students? Well, the answer is, right now, yes, we plan to because we're so small. But the good thing about growing is that, the more you grow, the easier it is to fill your courses you're running. So for the short term, the next couple of years, we do have a rule. If it's, 3 or less, we'll close the course, but we had closed 1 course this semester, big deal. And all the others have 4 or 5 students. And we expect that, it's going to be a small number of students per course for a few years. And that's just the cost of doing business with a small program but at least we have the goal of getting it bigger. So we're not going to be in this situation 2 or 3 years from now.
Tony,
Thank
I
you.
had another question. I don't have the budget up right now because I've got too many screens here, but Stephanie, did you say that the budget covers all of those instructors, whether they're full-time or adjunct, and it's just not broken down by, if you say you had 2 adjunct, that would be divided in half?
Well, the payment for the part-time instructors is per course, not per instructor. So it is all in there. And, as we make more money, we've got budgeted in for more instructors. I don't really know how many we need full-time but I have a, consultant who's helped me with the THECB application. She is a former SACS board member, and we're in discussions about exactly what we need to do to meet that requirement. The immediate step right now is getting associates approval, and we are, in discussions about what we need to do to meet SACS, but we do have the money in there and we're ready to hire these people.
Thank you.
I do have a question. This is Dorothy. I noticed in the budget that it talks about donation incomes from other businesses. So I was wondering if you can tell me how you would show those donations in your budget, and also can you name some of the related businesses you expect to receive donations from?
Sure. So Nettleman Land Consultants is my expert witness land surveying practice. We basically deal with land disputes and and land surveyor negligence. Within Nettleman Land Consultants, we also do a test prep where we provide the necessary education and training for land surveyors to get licensed in their home state. So, say I just graduated from Texas A&M, I've done my 2 years of experience, I'm ready to go become a professional surveyor. We give you individualized courses to get you ready. They're review courses, and then we'll get you prepared for any of your surveying exams. Just to give you a brief, synopsis, we made over $1 million in the first 9 months of this year, and 92% profit margin. You guys can do the math. So we have plenty of money to fund NISET. And in fact, NISET, every business needs a growth driver. And there are only so many land surveyors in the country we can teach to for test prep. So, we're really viewing this as, NISET is going to be a growth driver for the test prep, because we already reach so many land surveyors. We need to make more land surveyors so they can use our test prep program. So, Nettleman Land Consultants has plenty of money to fund NISET for several years. That's our plan. And we consider it more of an investment than a donation.
Okay, thank you.
You have something else to say?
CA,
Hey.
okay,
Oh, sorry.
go ahead.
Yeah, Tony, so in the, I think let's see, let me look up it. So under student admission, faculty qualifications, when you look at number 12, it does say that for associate's degree that you need at least 1 full-time faculty member. in the program. And that's the same here at HCC. And often that's they act as the program coordinator as well. They oversee the curriculum, etc. How are you going to address that? Now, right now, you said you're teaching, correct?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I am a full-time faculty member, so I do a lot of the, coordinating with the IAC, coordinating with the board of directors, teaching a course or two every semester. And I plan on, staying as a full-time faculty member for the next few years. And then, as the program grows, hiring more, at least one other full-time faculty member to help me in addition to the part-time faculty for general ed and surveying. And, I'm willing to hire more full-time faculty, if we can use them. So I'm not saying, 2 members is a top. This is just kind of where we're going in the very short term.
So what does that mean about your current role in the executive leadership?
Well, I guess, I'm the director of the Institute. I'm also, I guess, kind of the program coordinator, because I work with the faculty and the IAC to determine what classes are being taught, what courses will be next year in the future, if we need any curriculum updates, hiring. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just, let me look at it for myself. So as the AVC here, I could never also act as a full-time program coordinator, faculty member in a program at the same time I'm the AVC, right? I would have to give up my executive leadership role to go be a full-time faculty member and be the program coordinator of that program.
Okay, that makes sense. I guess I am full-time in the consulting practice and at NICET, but if that's a consideration, we can certainly discuss it with our SACS consultant to make sure that meets, your requirements and SACS, because we want to be in compliance.
Okay. I have one last, I think for me, question. And Tony, you thought to this earlier when you talked about breaking even. So I just wanted to know, do you anticipate when the Nettleman Institute may be looking at the first time to break even, and also is that sustainable?
Sure. So let me take a look at our budget here. I'm looking at the 5-year budget we sent you in the. So it looks like we're planning on being cash flow positive in 2026. And the prior years are very small, like $1,000, a couple $1,000 here and there. So, first of all, it's going to take us about 2 to 3 years to get to be cash flow positive, which, we understand that. And, is it sustainable? Well, I think it's really not even a problem or even an issue for us, because, if we make, $900,000 a year in the consulting practice, we typically, double our profits and our revenue every year. So, within 2 years from now, we'll make, $3 million a year. It's going to cost us, almost nothing to sustain NICET. So, considering the other expenses we pay, NICET is probably the cheapest of everything.
Okay. Thank you for that response. CIC members, any additional questions or comments?
Madam Chair, I do not in relation to this topic, but are we permitted to ask other questions based from watching the last council meeting, as well as reading the site visit response, etc.?
I believe
Yes, you can do that. I think, Dorothy, that would be very helpful, especially with 3 new members. If you need some other background or something, please go ahead and do that.
yes.
Is this a good time, or do you close out the?
No, now's a good time.
Okay, so Tony and there's was looking at you have a lot of wonderful things going for you. So first of all, really appreciate your application here, because you're absolutely right. From when I did watch the whole council meeting from your last time and read the documents. I wanted to be fully prepared for today to give you the respect of that, right? And so surveyors are definitely in need here in Texas and in the United States, as well as it's on the TWC's list of targeted occupations for, in demand, high wage type of career paths. So that's a real positive. So it's really wonderful seeing that you're working towards that goal. What I wanted to end your online flexibility, allowing, because I imagine most of your students are working, correct? And
That's right.
It's very similar to our students, right? It's like, and so that's really commendable there. And I like that. There's, being a non-SME, I do have questions, the same with our workforce programs. Sometimes when they're online, it's like, well, how do you do the applied part? But I'm not asking you that. I don't need that. So that was rhetorical, up in the air. But I do have a couple of questions. So I think you, in the last meeting, talked a little bit about it. I know you mentioned that we were talking about work-based learning experiences. So this is about so I really want to hear a little bit about your current, what you can demonstrate from what the certificate that TWC already approved for you. What kind of work-based learning experiences are you giving these current students or the past students? And then with that, what was the employability, the job placement rates? I think in the last meeting, you didn't have a lot of information about the employment, but I would like to hear a little more about that.
Sure. So I can actually answer, all three of those questions, even the rhetorical one, with one answer. So the students, obviously, land surveying is both principles and practice. The principles, they get online, we teach them. The practice, there's also, practice modules, labs required in the Certificate Associates program. And the way this works is, like, they're not doing this on a computer, obviously. They have a survey mentor, and we have a survey mentor form, which before every class with a lab component, the student completes a survey mentor form. And he says, I live in Round Rock, Texas. My survey mentor is John Smith, PLS. He's a professional surveyor, and he's going to supervise me during these labs. So in order to do the labs in the courses, they do them in person with their survey mentor. And a lot of times, if the student is already employed, so their boss is the survey mentor, they fill out the form where they say they're not going to break any rules. But some of the time we have students who will say, well, I'm just starting this career. I don't have a survey mentor. What do I do? Well, we send them to the State Society of Surveyors, who connects them with a local surveyor. And really what happens is they get a job with the surveyor. So they're working, 20 to 40 hours a week or more with this surveyor. And then they're doing their labs on the weekends or nights or something else with the same person. So there's, I guess, a built-in hands-on component to the program, because you have to have a survey mentor to do a lot of the classes. And for job placement rate, we have plans on hiring a career services person later on, but I think that's really the least of our concerns, because pretty much all of our students are already employed. So they're not going to be like job hunting afterwards. They're just going to be moving up in a different position once they graduate, because they'll have the credentials to move up from technician to what we call surveyor in training, which is like the baby step to a professional surveyor. We don't really keep those statistics because, everyone's employed right now with the surveyors already. So I guess we have 100% placement rate or a 0% placement rate, however you want to consider it. And in addition to these lab mentors, which are required, we also have a summer internship course where it's like a field camp. They come to us for a week in the summer. We do all the exercises just to make sure that the mentor has taught them the right things to do. They have the basic skills in the field to do it. And that way it's not just the mentor gauging their lab experience. It's, NICET instructors giving them a checkpoint or like a check week to make sure they're ready to graduate from the program.
Okay, let me just a couple clarifying then. So the TWC approved certificate does not lead to employment?
It leads to better employment. So in order to move up in these careers, the students are required to have a certain amount of education, pass a certain number of exams, and there are surveyor technician exams that are kind of like, they're like the licensing exams, but they're not getting a license, they're getting a certificate from the National Surveyors Group. So, yes, it does lead to employment in some cases, but most of our students, their ultimate goal is to get a better job, not just the, $15 an hour technician job they're in today. And that's what the TWC leads to: more money, more benefits, more autonomy.
And so to follow up on that again, I'm focusing on right now on what you're able to demonstrate of based on the students you've already served or are currently serving, right? And so, and here, if you could, when I look up the licensing from the Texas Board of Professional Engineers and Land Surveyors, how to be eligible. So when you're, and I see where the top is hold a bachelor's of science in surveying, then it's a bachelor's degree with 32 hours, and then associates, right? But underneath that, it's when we start talking about 32 hours in land surveying courses, 2 years of experience working under a RPLS. And I think that's where you are now. Is that correct?
That's right. That's correct. And we do offer, that's why we offer 32 hours.
Mhm.
But it's also, easier to meet those requirements if you have the associates. It's just another path. Now, another interesting thing is a lot of our students already have associates or bachelor's degrees that are coming to us for the credit hours, the surveying credit. So they currently, with the TWC, they are able to, become professional surveyors. But in other states, like if you went to a nearby state, they need the associate's degree. There's no just 32-hour requirement. So we're trying to make it so that the surveyors who come to our program can get licensed in really any state they want to, not just in Texas. That's really one of the reasons why we're here with the THECB. Yeah,
and I don't have it in front of me, maybe one of my colleagues, but I do know that we have, the Texas, the Department of Education requires us, it's called SARA. So any kind of industry credentials of value, those professional certifications or licensures here in the state of Texas or any state, if we're teaching online, we have to state, that what we're teaching is applicable to here in Texas, but any other states, we have to be clear whether it is going to be able to get them the license or the certification that they need to be able to work in another state. Are you fulfilling that requirement now with the TWC certificate?
I'm not familiar with SARA, but we do counsel students about where they can use their TWC certificate now, and we have an Excel spreadsheet because surveyor licensing, it's a mess. I mean, some states there's no requirement. Some states it's incredibly difficult, like a bachelor's is required with certain classes. And, we talk with students before they even enroll about, what are your goals? What do you want to do with this certificate or degree? And, what can you do with it? And that's kind of the same conversation we have with the test prep students of, where are you? What are your plans? And how can you use your review course to get licensed? And so short answer, yes, we do have conversations about where you can and cannot use this certificate. And we plan on doing the same thing for the associates.
I'll just jump in and tell you, Sarah involves degrees. And so if you're a member of Sarah, Tom, you are talking about the requirements for that. So
Yeah.
that's sort of an off topic, but it was a good question on preparing students and making sure that they know if they qualify for other states as well.
Yeah,
I'll
especially
write
in
it down.
this-
Thank you.
yeah, and what, because you are looking at across the United States. I do have other questions, but I'll, let some of my colleagues ask some questions if they would like, otherwise they'll come back to me. Yeah. Oops.
Can y'all hear me? Seem like I'm breaking up. Can you hear me, Kathy?
Yes, I can hear you. You're good right now. Thanks.
Hello?
Yes, can you hear me?
Okay, good. I'm just,
Now I think you're breaking up again, Dr. Langley.
I can hear you. And you can hear me? That's good. Have anything else?
I wanted to note that Dr. Jackson has
See your
joined us.
smile.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Ma'am.
ma'am.
I just wanted to note that Dr. Jackson has joined us. She is our Assistant Commissioner for Workforce Education.
Nice to see all of you. Please accept my apology for being tardy. I was on another call and I apologize.
Dorothy, do you have any questions or have you opened it up for other questions as well?
Since
Did
Dr.
you
Langley,
ask that of me?
Yes, yes.
I'm having a problem with my connection. I'm sorry. Can y'all,
that's
okay? No, yes,
Yes,
yes.
Dorothy, you are breaking up.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to get on again. Okay, Kathy, go ahead until I can get my connection kind of straight. I don't know what's going
Okay,
on with it.
I believe Dr. Schuler might have had a question.
well, yeah, I was
Thank
thinking of
you.
Dr. Langley had a question earlier that I just wanted to follow up. She brought up sustainability earlier, and it wasn't specified in the question, but I believe she was also looking at what happens, Tony, once you're gone from the picture. And there could be, lots of reasons why you might be gone from the picture. What happens to the school at that point?
It's a great question. And, we're dealing with this right now in the other business, the consulting practice as well. And in fact, we've hired quite a number of people so that, the test prep business is operating basically without me. We've got, content creators, editors, salespeople, marketing. Same thing we do continuing education courses for land surveyors where you come every year, you take your courses to keep your license. And of course, every state has different requirements for types of courses and content. So the short answer is, without me, the test prep, the CEU business, the expert practice will still be funding NICET if it's in the short term. And, frankly, I'd like to find another director for NICET in the next few years once it's operating properly and within our vision, and stay as chairman of the board and make sure things are happening, but not really be the day-to-day. So that's a great question. And currently, NICET's going to have to be with me for the next year or 2 years, but we are actively planning with our business coach what that looks like without me in the picture, because I have, there's always a chance to get shot by an angry property owner.
Okay. Any other questions?
I have a follow-up question on that one. Now, this is taking a look at the SACS requirements for accreditation, which I think you've wisely gotten some help for that and navigating that piece. But under their requirements for the governing board, one of the points is ensures that both the presiding officer of the board and a majority of other voting members of the board are free of any contractual, employment, personal, or familial financial interest in the institution. And so I guess carrying on with the previous question, could you imagine circumstances in which the financial interests of the institute would be at odds with the financial interests of your company, and how you would kind of think through and navigate those in terms of the multiple hats that you're wearing on this?
Sure, that kind of makes me think of the term, what's good for General Motors is good for America. I think that got kind of misconstrued, but, I think that what's good for NYSET is also good for the other businesses, because, we're using NYSET to create more surveyors, which in turn will need, CEUs and test prep from either us or some other company. So I don't really see a place where NYSET would come at odds with any of the other, different profit centers. But if it does, NYSET is the top priority in all four of these profit centers. So, everyone, the board members, the faculty, everyone is working to get NYSET bigger, associates approved, SACS accredited, and that's our primary focus. So if there was a conflict, I'm sure that NYSET would control over the other profit centers.
Are there any questions? I see Dr. Langley.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Yeah, if it's fine, I'll ask. I have a few more myself. I just want to make sure I can make a truly informed decision, Tony and Stacey. So that's why I'm asking the.
Sure, yeah, we enjoy your questions. There's no problem.
So before I start asking about what you will be able to do with an AAS, I still want to focus on what you have done and are doing right now. So you're not able, as far as I can understand, you're not able to tell me specifically about the employment for your current students, because they're already employed, but yet they're doing a certificate to go higher, or get more wages. So let me ask about the licensure. What's the licensure pass rates of your current students for the past, let's say 3 years?
Sure. So I think it's over 90%. We may have like one student a year that says they didn't pass, and we give them extra material to study. And it's usually due to like stress, anxiety, things like that, test taking tips. But, rarely do we ever have anyone come and say we didn't pass our exam. Once or twice a year at most.
Is that first time pass rate or the second time they took the exam?
Well, it's the first time with us. So a lot of times, they've taken this exam. I had a student recently that took their exam 15 times before they came to us. And then they took it, and now they're licensed so first time with us, it's over 90%, but they've often attempted the exam many, many times before.
Okay. And then I have a question on standard 19 academic records, and maybe this was clear, but I know that it says that you use Dropbox. I'm not familiar with Populi. Do these qualify? Are these secure enough for FERPA requirements?
Yes, so any sensitive student records is in Populi, and Populi is like Blackboard or other LMS systems. Populi is really built for the small university because it doesn't just do LMS. It does student records, faculty records, has a library feature where the students can check out books. It's really kind of a comprehensive small university system. And yes, there are a lot of institutions that use it. And yes, we all have our FERPA certificate, we take an online course. And, Populi is built to meet all those requirements.
Okay. So just a few more. And so now just we're moving into, what you hope to achieve. And so again, when looking at the labor market information, typically for surveyors, it looks like the education level is a bachelor's or higher, right? The typical education level. So with an AAS, how have you looked into articulation agreements or how career progression pathways for those students after they finish the AAS, so that if they decide later on they want to get that bachelor's, that they have a clear articulation agreement or a pathway to do that?
So just to be clear, only a minority of states require a bachelor's degree. And in fact, some of the states that used to require a bachelor's have lowered it to an associate's or lower. Florida requires a bachelor's right now, and there's legislation to remove all education requirements for land surveyors.
Tony, I'm talking about the labor market information of those who are doing surveying right now. They typically have a bachelor's or higher. So I'm not talking about licensure requirements, but those that are actually working in the field. And I'll be glad to send you that information.
That would be great. I'd like that because, the majority of land surveyors that I know do not have bachelor's degrees. And most of states don't require it. Most companies don't require a bachelor's. So our plan is, once we've operated the associates for, a number of years, to offer a bachelor's degree, because we do want to, or our ultimate goal is for any of our students to get licensed and practice in any state, any company, meet their minimum requirements and better. We do not have any plans to offer any articulation agreements with bachelor's programs, just because it's just a different mindset. You look at a lot of institutions that offer bachelor's today, they don't have a single licensed professional surveyor on staff, which is weird. But our plan is to offer a bachelor's as soon as the associates is operating well. As soon as we're accredited by SACS and we know we're on a stable footing, we would like to upgrade to a bachelor's, within the next 5 years. And we have just going to be transparent with the students that, with our associate's degree, they can practice in a majority of states. They can get licensed in a majority of states. Now, a follow-up to that is, the labor market. I don't know of any surveying company that would require a bachelor's to get a job right now. In fact, most of my colleagues would take anyone who's even marginally qualified, because they've got, more work than they could ever imagine. So I do not foresee not having a bachelor's to be a deficiency in the short term.
Yeah, what I am talking about. So yeah, we're definitely in this time period now that we're looking at skills-based and competency-based type of hiring, right? As opposed to degrees. So that may be down the road that we'll start seeing less of that on job placements, and that the percentages that we see now will change for that. So during the last meeting, you were asked a very important question about the equity of gender in this particular field. And I want to ask the question related to the equity of race and ethnicity. Because again, when looking at the labor market and then the breakdown of those working in the field now, it's typically 72.7% Caucasian. And so what do you have in mind to address equity in this to level out that, you know, so it's not just all white men like myself, for example?
Yeah, it's a great question. You know, the 72% Caucasian is actually surprising to me, because I think it'd be like 95% or something, you know, in the 90s. I teach a lot of one-day courses. Just, you know, I say, you know, donate, you know, a couple $1,000 in a scholarship fund to your state, and I'll come teach a course for you for the day. And when I go into a room with 100 surveyors, there's maybe 1 to 2 non-Caucasian people, maybe 2 to 3 women in the group max. And frankly, I don't really know why that is, because I mean, I've always thought the programs that I've been involved with were very open to anybody who wanted to come in. But I think that, you know, if you're a student and you walk into a room with 98 Caucasians, you're going to think, well, why is that? What's up here? And same answer as August meeting. When you walk into a classroom and everyone doesn't look like you, it's just kind of surprising and kind of shocking. So I hope that when they're online, they have a little more freedom to feel like they're their own people and not look around the classroom and see, you know, white men, basically. I also think that, you know, getting a more diverse student background is going to require recruiting new types of people into the profession. And there are a lot of apprenticeship programs funded by the federal government now. There's a lot of push for skills-based as opposed to degree-based things. And, you know, maybe trying to get more companies and local governments to adopt the skills-based idea, because they'll definitely get a better, you know, quality of employee if they do that. I'm a big proponent of bachelors of surveying. I have a bachelor's of surveying, but I know a lot of surveyors I work with do not have a bachelor's, and they're very competent too. So to answer your question, this is a big discussion we're having at the national and the state level, diversity. It's a difficult topic, but I think a new type of degree program will help start the change at least.
Thank you. That's all the questions I have, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I thank everyone for your responses. Before we move forward, I just want to make sure and ask, are there any additional questions raised by the institution responses? I was able to switch over so now I can see everybody. So thank you, Kathy, for that. And hello, Dr. Jackson. Okay. Going to move forward. The CAC is tasked, as you know, with making a recommendation to the commissioner and the coordinating board regarding the current application. Based on the discussion and questions today, the CAC can make a recommendation to either approve or deny the application. The CAC can also defer a recommendation and ask the applicant for additional information if it believes there is not enough information to make a recommendation. So at this time, I want to ask the THECB staff, they have any requested restrictions or conditions should the CAC members vote to recommend approval of the Nettleman Institute's application for a certificate of authority.
Sure, and I will take that. These are the same conditions that we asked for in the previous meeting when you put off the decision until this one. Nettleman Institute has met the operational requirement and has been legally operating for a minimum of 2 years, enrolling non-degree students and conducting classes in Texas under a TWC licensure. Therefore, no additional conditions, restrictions, or reporting requirements are mandatory. However, staff would like to suggest the following conditions if the CAC recommends approval of the certificate of authority. During the term of the certificate of authority, Nettleman Institute must provide the coordinating board with a copy of each version of an income share agreement it enters into with students. And that was discussed during the first meeting. The income share agreement must include a quantifiable definition of average pay and terms under which students will be required to pay tuition and fees, terms under which students will be forgiven tuition and fees, and conditions which may allow termination of the agreement without penalty. The second suggested condition is that during the term of the certificate of authority, Nettleman Institute must provide to the coordinating board the following information to show it continues to be financially viable and able to serve the educational needs of its students. Every 6 months, provide a current balance sheet and estimated cash flow for the upcoming 6 months. And once per year, provide an audited financial statement for the institution. There's one additional requirement or condition that we suggest based on the supplemental information provided by Nettleman, and I think it addresses some of your earlier questions. Prior to starting the associate program, Nettleman Institute would provide copies of all general education faculty members' transcripts showing that they meet the requirements in the standards of operation. And before I turn it back over to Dr. Langley, I wanted to remind you, you have all had great questions on SACS COC, because I understand that's what Nettleman Institute is moving toward for accreditation. But I also want to remind you to keep in mind that for the certificate of authority, we are looking at, do they meet the standards of operation that are in the coordinating board rules? And with that, I will turn it back to Dr. Langley. I apologize for the length of those conditions, but if you recommend, we will always put that in writing so that everyone has those conditions.
Thank you so much. At this time, I'm going to ask for a motion and second to either recommend the approval or recommend denial of the Nettleman Institute's application for initial certification of authority. If there are conditions in which we would like to, CAC members would rather have a deferred recommendation, we will do that at this time as well. So do we have any discussion, further amendments, restrictions, or conditions are requested for this particular motion at this time?
This is Gina. I would just like to add to, in Cam's conditions about faculty qualifications may have included this, but I want to be specific that that condition include the faculty qualifications for the general ed courses as well as the
Thank you.
courses.
All right. And Gina, just so that I am clear, you would like all faculty credentials to be submitted. Okay.
Based on those requirements, I recommend approval.
And was
Jane
that Dr. Michelle?
Jane Michelle, sorry.
I would second that recommendation. This is John Vassar.
Okay, thank you. At this time, we have received a motion and a second one. So we would like to go around the CSC members and receive a yes or no in support of that motion.
And Dr.
Individually.
Langley, can I just interject? It was the motion to recommend approval with the conditions as stated, including Dr. Anderson's? Okay, thank you.
Yes, that's what I tried to state. I'm sorry.
All right. No.
Yeah,
I
thank
just
you.
wanted to make it clear.
It's Jane. Okay, thanks.
That's what I tried to second as well.
Great. All right.
And technically, should there be discussion before vote?
Yes.
None? All right, well, may we vote now?
Yes.
Individual, yes, no. Let's start with, Tom. Am I okay, Kat?
Yes, you are good. Would you like me to ask for the vote?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Yes.
Tom Ronk, how would you vote?
I vote no today.
Okay. John Vassar,
I vote yes.
and Jane Michella.
I vote yes.
Sorry, I'm taking notes here. Gina Anderson
Yes.
and Dorothy Langley. Dr. Langley,
Okay.
how would you vote?
Oh, yes. You can hear me.
And Cheryl is not with us, so that is 1 vote no, and 1, 2, 3, 4 votes yes. And so we will note that it was a 4-to-1 vote to recommend approval with all of the recommended conditions, including Dr. Anderson's.
Thank you so much. We have completed that vote. And at this time, we're going to turn this back over to Kathy so she can give us additional updates
Sure.
and expectations.
All right.
Thank
Thank you all. The next 2 scheduled CAC meetings are February 2nd, 2023 and May 4th, 2023. Both are on Thursdays. We've had a lot of inquiries and work behind the scenes on new and renewal applications. We expect to continue with a busy year during academic 2022 to 23. Paul Schuler is busy setting up site visits as we speak. And as a reminder, this committee has been authorized to continue meeting virtually. We will definitely provide an update should that change. Since we do have a small advisory committee, remember that we do need each CAC member to participate, especially when members leave an institution or have an unavoidable conflict, as Dr. Sneed Green did today. Please put the upcoming meeting dates on your calendar. Again, that is February 2nd and May 4th. I thank you for your willingness to serve and ensure that we always have a quorum. Finally, please email me a summary of your expenses for this meeting. When we traveled, it was more, but virtually, I'm not sure if you have any, but sometimes people will have copy expenses or something of that sort. We are required to report the amount the advisory committee members expend for meetings. And again, it may include travel or copies you made or such. That is all I have, Dr. Langley.
Thank you for that. At this time, we definitely want to thank Tony and is it Stephanie? Did I say it right? Okay, for joining us today. I want to thank my CAC colleagues for being on the call. And that is all we have. So we're just going to thank you for attending. Thank you for bearing with me with all my beautiful devices today. So the meeting is officially adjourned. Thank you so much. Have a blessed day.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Best
Thank
of
you.
luck to you, Tony and Stephanie.
Thank you.
And Tony and Stephanie, I'm sure that, I think they're gone. I was going to say that Paul would follow up.